Holy cow! I do not know how we got this far into creating animated videos of cryptocurrency topics without hearing of Solana. I mean, I definitely have heard of it, but wow, I am surprised we haven't covered it yet. Probably for good reasons though. If you type in what is Solana on YouTube, you get 50 price predictions, 3 videos explaining proof of history, and a bunch of interviews. No good single video that simply just goes over everything that Solana has to offer. Welcome to Crypto Codebreaker, your gateway to unraveling the mysteries of cryptocurrency. Don't forget to show your support by liking the video and hitting that subscribe button. Here, we explain topics of the cryptocurrency world using analogies, stories, and examples so that you can easily understand them. In this video, we're going to explain what Solana is, some of the crazy unique technological improvements that they have over Ethereum, and then finally, we will get into some tokenomics that you could use to make a price prediction. Before we talk about how to use Solana, let's talk about why it's great and who made it. The person who wrote the first white paper is Anatoly Yakovenko. He's pretty smart and has worked at Qualcomm for about 10 years, which is something you should know about him. I tried reading the white paper, but it's mostly very technical with only a few lines that I could understand. However, his blockchain is named after a beach in Solana Beach that he loved. We should talk about why Solana's price has gone through the roof in the last few months. To begin, Solana's block time is only 400 milliseconds, which is very quick compared to Ethereum's 10 seconds or Bitcoin's 10 minutes. Solana also says they can handle up to 710,000 transactions per second, which is about 30 times as many as Visa can handle right now. Even though they've never been able to get more than 50,000 before, they may be able to do 710,000, but they haven't tried yet. As you can see, the Solana network is quick, huge, and cheap. With fees of about 1/100th of a penny per transaction, I'd say it's about the same as the Matic network. Next up, let's get into what makes them so fast and so cheap. The first thing that we must explain is their consensus mechanism, which is a fancy way of saying how everyone agrees what the blockchain should be. Now, they don't use proof of work, and they don't really use proof of stake. Anatoly actually described a new system called proof of history in his white paper. It's basically proof of stake, but it adds in the special variable of time. So you need to know, proof of history is not a consensus mechanism, but it is a way of integrating time into the blockchain data. We use something called timestamps to place a specific date and time on the blocks, and we do this so that it allows for a very fast sequencing of validators. Basically so that they know they're ordered to submit blocks without having to communicate back and forth. One big problem that other blockchains have is that they have to agree on time. We'll take this for granted. But computers have to constantly be going. What time is it really, since they can't do things like look at their phone or even the sun to determine it? On other blockchains, the nodes, which is a fancy word that means computers on the network, have to chat back and forth, until they agree on a time. And they have to do this before submitting a block. And in the computer world, this chatter can take up a lot of time. Solana fixes this by having everyone date their blocks and using a cryptographic proof so that they don't have to wait for everyone to agree on the time. To put it simply, we don't have to wait for other validators to check and accept our work before we can agree on how the data in the blocks should be organized. It's one of the well-known crypto codebreaker stories. Think about it this way. If you want your family to send you a letter every day, they need to start by sending you a letter and then send all of their letters to you. There has been a long time since both of your letters were sent. You could tell them to send you a letter at 4 p.m. on January 3rd, the next time you saw them. You'd know it's coming in that way, and you wouldn't have to waste time or money asking them to. In short, you could set it up so that your uncle writes a letter on January 3, your aunt writes one on January 4, your cousin writes one on January 5, and your grandmother writes one on January 6. We want to read these letters in order, but the issue is that they each use different mail providers. like UPS and FedEx. Sometimes they take different amounts of time, and also your uncle is on a work trip, so he's a few thousand miles away. By having them all send their letters on the days that they're supposed to, they may not arrive in the exact order, but they wrote the time that they actually sent their letters in the letter. So you can organize them when you get them. Basically, proof of history allows nodes to just keep throwing a bunch of blocks at us, and since some people have faster internet than others, we can assume that they're telling the truth about their sending date, and then organize them after we get them, then add them to the blockchain. Now, there's a little bit more that goes into proof of history, but honestly, it deserves its own video. So make sure to hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. Oh, by the way, of course, in this analogy, our aunt, our uncle, cousin, and grandma were actually all just different people sending in blocks. And we can use math to find out that our uncle actually wrote his letter on January 3rd. That Solana has about 25 blocks being checked by 25 people at the same time is also interesting. They are actually able to beat Visa by such a big amount because of this. In the same way that they're like proof of stake, one thing I liked about Solana is that you don't have to be a validator to use it. Before I go on, if you don't understand what proof of stake means, kindly watch our movie on how to understand some of the following terms. In Ethereum 2.0, on the other hand, you need to stake about 32 Ethereum, which is about 100,000. On Solana, to vote every day, you only need a very small amount of the coin and to pay a fee. But there is a catch. I only don't like the vote fee. At the moment, it costs about $70,000 a year, which seems like a lot of money. But almost 1,000 people are doing it right now, so they must know something I don't. Next up, let's talk about something that no other big blockchain has tried yet. It's called sea level. Technically, this is just a fun term to describe that validators can actually run smart contract code in a parallel way. Now, if you're not a developer, let me explain it in simple terms. Let's say you have to do the dishes, you have to switch the laundry, and then you gotta sweep the floor. A human would have to do each one of these things in order because they're only one human. We call this a serial task, one after the other. In terms of Solana, the word parallel means you can do them all at the same time. So it's like if you could make 2 more copies of yourself and actually do the dishes, switch the laundry, and sweep the floor all at the same time. That is essentially what Solana can do processing their smart contracts. Something else I caught on their website was this quote, which describes how they are not bottlenecked by software or ideas, but instead bottlenecked by hardware. Every time NVIDIA doubles the number of simmed lanes, our network will double in computational capacity. To me, it'll be interesting to see how Bitcoin and Ethereum handle the supercomputers that we have in 10s to 50s years from now. You should know that Solana's smart contracts are very different from Ethereum's before we talk about the tokenomics of Sol. A virtual machine is what Ethereum uses to run its Solidity code. Solana, on the other hand, uses the computer language Rust. Even though Rust is a much more powerful language, it takes more work to make things with it. The Ethereum network doesn't let devs copy and paste their dApps and projects like many other blockchains do, which is a downside. Everything needs to be written from scratch. They will be stronger than Ethereum smart contracts though. Now let's talk about tokenomics. A lot of people watch our videos to learn about a coin or project before they invest in it. Just to be clear, we will never give you investment advice, ask for money, or put our WhatsApp number in the comments. There are so many fake comments these days. Don't get in touch with them. The Solana network's native currency is the Sol coin, which is primarily used for transaction fees across the entire blockchain ecosystem. Solana's economic model appears to be both inflationary and deflationary. Aspects stems from the fact that initially, 100% of transaction fees were burned, which now stands at the 50%. The inflationary element arises from the recently approved inflation schedule, which provides staking rewards of around 8%, gradually decreasing until they reach 1.5% in 10 years. The initial total supply of Solana was around 500 million tokens, which will continue to grow due to proof-of-stake rewards. Prior to their initial ICO, there were 4 private funding rounds. These rounds, along with the ICO, sold around 36% of their total supply, each token priced at a mere 25 cents. The current price, however, is $200 per coin. The remaining distribution of tokens was as follows: 13% to the project founders, 10% to the Solana Foundation, and 39% to fund community initiatives. Interestingly, there was an instance where a Solana wallet held around 13 million tokens for unspecified reasons, leading to a sizable portion of them being burned. It's also worth noting that in December 2020, Solana experienced a 6-hour downtime. Despite the inherent risk associated with such an event in a decentralized network, it did not significantly impact the price. As of now, Solana is still in the beta stage, which is an essential consideration for potential investors or developers planning to build a dApp on their platform. Welcome to Crypto Codebreaker, your gateway to unraveling the mysteries of cryptocurrency. Don't forget to show your support by liking the video and hitting that subscribe button. Thank you, guys, so much for watching. We hope you enjoy this video. We really hope that you learned something, and most of all, we hope to see you in our future videos.